Hello, I'm Mathieu. In the summer of 2025, I was scrolling through a French auction site when I found something incredible. A lens that changed movie history and nearly destroyed Walt Disney's empire. A lens lost for 70 years. The price was far beyond what I could afford, but I knew this was important. So I reached out to Dane.
Hi, I'm Dan from Atlas Lens Co.
Dane is the CEO of Atlas Lens Co., a company behind some of today's most celebrated modern anamorphics.
For me, anamorphic lenses are just one of my favorite things in the entire world.
I sent him the link and he immediately bought it. Then he asked if I wanted to test it before it went into his museum. A few days later, a plain box showed up at my door. Inside was a battered carrying case, the kind of relic you expect to see in an Indiana Jones movie. And when I saw this detail, my jaw dropped. That little piece of paper was the proof. To understand why this sticker is so important, we need to go back to the 1950s. In the early 1950s, Walt Disney was under enormous pressure. For decades, he'd been known as a pioneer of cartoons and animation. But Hollywood still didn't take him seriously as a live-action filmmaker. Then came the project that could change everything. An adaptation of Jules Verne's novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Walt Disney loved it so much that he poured nearly all of his money into the production. It became the most ambitious and the most expensive film in Hollywood history at the time. Meanwhile, Disneyland was still under construction, which meant that the stakes were higher than ever. If the film failed, it wouldn't just be a box office disappointment. It could have brought down the entire Disney empire. To make the film even more spectacular, Disney turned to a brand new technology, Cinemascope. Introduced by 20th Century Fox in 1953 with The Robe, Cinemascope used anamorphic adapters to squeeze a widescreen image into 35mm film, creating a panoramic view unlike anything audiences had ever seen. To sell this new technology, Fox chose the biggest star on the planet. Marilyn Monroe became the face of Cinemascope, posing with the revolutionary anamorphic adapter and projector lens system. But in 1954, there was a catch. Only a handful of these adapters existed. They were built by Bosch and Lomb for Fox.
And one of these is actually in the Disney Family Museum, and you can see a Cinemascope attachment like this in an underwater camera rig that would have external couplings for the divers to be able to operate the focus of not only this Cinemascope attachment, but a primary lens as well. And these were actually pretty challenging to use for early camera people because you would not only have to focus the primary lens like this Bosch and Lomb Baltar, but you'd have to focus this Cinemascope attachment and you'd have to focus them in opposite directions.
But for Walt Disney, there was a problem. Fox controlled the technology.
All of these Bosch and Lomb Cinemascope lenses were being regulated by 20th Century Fox, as well as the trade name Cinemascope. So if you wanted to show your widescreen movie filmed with anamorphic technology, and you wanted it to be associated with the marketing push for Cinemascope, you would have to pay 20th Century Fox a license fee.
Even with Disney's gigantic budget, he couldn't secure more than a single Cinemascope adapter for the entire production.
As we were using Cinemascope, we were the second picture to be made in Cinemascope. And so we had nothing to fall back on to see how somebody else did certain things. And beside that, we only had one lens to shoot the whole picture with. Because they just hadn't manufactured enough lenses by that time. It's very early on in Cinemascope. But it just took forever to get each setup. We only made 2 or 3 setups a day.
Shooting was slow and delicate. Every shot had to be focused twice. once on the adapter and once on the taking lens. The bulky optics needed extreme care. "20,000 Leagues Under the Sea" remains the only confirmed feature film ever shot with this Bausch & Lomb adapter. Just a few months after the movie's release, Bausch & Lomb introduced new anamorphic lenses that no longer required dual focusing.
This example is a 50mm focal length, and this guy weighs right around 12 or 13 kilos, which is like right around 25, 30 pounds, something like that. Pretty heavy lens. But it integrates a follow focus right here on the side, which makes it easy to use.
The adapter became obsolete overnight and vanished, forgotten in storage rooms.
As far as these Cinemascope attachments, I can say with certainty that there are at least 7 working examples that I have personally had my hands on over the years. I'm really happy to be able to help preserve the history of these lenses. So Matthew, I'm really grateful that you got a chance to try the Bausch & Lomb Cinemascope attachment because it is such an important part of history.
The case looked like it already crossed back and forth between France and the United States many times. When I opened the case, an horrible mix of chemicals and old varnish spilled into the air. But inside, the lens was pristine. Even the original focusing handle was still there. But there was a problem. The adapter was mounted on a 1950s rail system, completely incompatible with modern rigs. So I carefully removed it and adapted it into a universal rail system. For the first time in decades, this piece of glass could sit in front of a taking lens again. I chose my trusted Konica 57mm f1.2 as the main lens. To prevent light leaks, I sealed it all with a series of custom tubes. Now the setup was finally ready. There's actually one sequence in the movie that shows some incredible flares.
I believe it was Walt Disney who came up with the idea of nuclear energy as the power source for the Nautilus submarine.
So I tried to recreate the same effect, and the adapter shows some incredible, beautiful organic flares. The kind of imperfect living streaks that many modern anamorphic lenses still struggles to match. Most of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was shot with relatively slow lenses, often at distances that made any kind of subject separation impossible. That's why you rarely see any shallow depth of field in the film. But with a simple trick, adding diopters in front of the adapter, you can unlock a completely different side of its character. Suddenly, the lens produces beautiful creamy bokeh. All I needed was the right subject. Not just to test the lens, but to pay homage to the film that made it legendary. So I reached out to the Aquarium of Paris, and to my surprise, they gave me the permission to film inside with my huge rig. After 71 years, the lens that once captured Captain Nemo's adventures was about to go under the sea once more. I still can't believe I had the chance to hold and actually shoot with this incredible piece of cinema history. A lens that was once at the heart of Walt Disney's boldest gamble, then forgotten for decades, only to resurface in the most unexpected way. For me, it wasn't just about testing a lens. It was about reconnecting with a moment when cinema itself was experimenting and risking everything. And the fact that 71 years later, this adapter could still deliver such magic, that's something I'll never forget. Now it's time for me to send the lens back to its mother country. After more than 70 years, it will finally have a new home.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Mathieu, and I am really excited about what you've been making. Cheers.
If you enjoyed this journey, let me know in the comments what other hidden pieces of cinema history I should try to uncover. If you're more into lenses with insane swirly bokeh, you might want to check this out. After more than 10 years of testing strange and beautiful vintage projector lenses, I've finally gathered everything I've learned into one complete guide. It's called the Projector Lens Handbook, a 130-page ebook packed with my best advice for getting incredible swirly bokeh and unique cinematic images using cheap forgotten lenses. Just click the link in the description to grab your copy. Oh, and if you are a channel member, you get 30% off.